Brave New World. Aldous Huxley's classic 1931 dystopian apocalyptic novel is set in the futuristic, generally emotionless society of the world state, a futuristic dystopia, which has been engineered by the world controllers. In this world, which is held up as the ideal of sociological advancement, science and technology are used to control and medicate the population into an obedient and passive population, where emotions and individualistic thought are not only discouraged, but are strictly forbidden. The story begins with the arrival of Bernard Marx and his friend Helmholtz Watson in London. Both have been sent away from their posts in the tropical island of Fincastle by the world controller for disturbing behavior, for Bernard for having a different attitude and for Helmholtz for having too much intelligence. As they arrive in the metropolis of London, it becomes clear that the future world is cloned and tranquilized, where everyone performs their jobs with ease, but no one really has passion for anything. The two discover that their fellow resident of the metropolis, Lenin Crown, is a popular DHC, director of hatcheries and conditioning, who works in an embryo room where babies are conceived and formed through the Bokanovsky process. From the Bokanovsky process, large quantities of identical embryos are born, which are then subjected to carefully monitored sleep-teaching techniques and separated into different classes in order to ensure that the working class remain content with their lot. The two meet John, a savage who has been brought up outside of the world state and observes its unfamiliar ways with both horror and fascination. John's mother had been sent to the Savage Reservation in New Mexico, where she had become a patient of the Savage's resident psychologist and philosopher Mustafa Mond. Having been sent away from the reservation, John joins Bernard and Helmholtz in London, unaware that his strange behavior conflicts with the world state's emphasis on conformity and stability. John's presence prompts the two to visit the Savage Reservation. Helmholtz and Bernard soon realize that the living conditions couldn't be more different from the pacified, cheerful atmosphere of New World. There, they find a much more primitive society with traditional values, affections, and passions that produce both suffering and joy. Bernard and Helmholtz soon come to the conclusion that they cannot actually experience any real emotions, so they decided to go back to New World City and start planning their next adventure. They never expect that their journey to the Savage Reservation was part of a larger plan orchestrated by their controllers in the world state. Too late, the two discover that their journey was part of a ploy to bring John back to London and make an example of him. John's presence in London incites strong reactions from the people. Although some admire his strength and individualism, others are frightened by it. As his challenge to the world state's structure stirs up rebellious feelings from the people, the controllers decide that he must be removed from the population to maintain obedience and stability. After serious consideration, their solution is to exile him to an island with some animals and books. In this lonely, isolated state, John finally breaks through his years of suppressed emotions and medicated worldviews, and begins to explore his newfound emotions. He even finds solace in reading Shakespeare and contemplate the difference between his new world and the Savage Reservation. In the process, John finds liberation as well, eventually gaining the courage to practice freedom of his choice and stand up to the world controllers. Yet even then, the world state is still not completely conquered by John's individualism. As an unappreciated, exiled figure, John's example of freedom is not really able to strengthen the individualistic spirit that lies dormant in the world state, and he eventually dies from an overdose of the drug soma, leaving the world state still under the apathetic control of the world controllers. Although John is not able to make much of a difference, his struggle and his death are important in that it reveals that freedom cannot truly be attained without personal responsibility, freedom of ideals, and courage of purpose. By drawing attention to the dangers of over-medicating and attempting to pacify the populace, Huxley provides a thought-provoking examination of the role of technology and science in the personal choice. In the end, Brave New World not only offers insight into the complicated relationship between the individual and the state, but also serves as a cautionary tale of man's potential misuse of technology and its destructive effects on humanity.